Yo, what's up everybody, it's Victon here with a Last Epoch guide, and let me tell you, I am super excited to be able to bring you guys some Last Epoch content. I've been a backer of this game since it first became available in closed beta years ago, and I have loved it ever since. I'm really happy it's getting some great feedback, and a ton of new players are hopping into the game. With that being said, I wanted to come out with a few guides on the game's mechanics for those newer players jumping into the game, and even some veterans that might be coming back after a long time away. This is going to be the first video actually in a guide series, so hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more Last Epoch content just like this. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, check for my Patreon link in the description below, or consider following my Twitch, so you guys can come in and check on the builds that I'm playing, ask questions, or just hang out in general. Always happy to see you guys in there, and always happy to help out in any way that I can. Anyways, let's get back to the guide here. Now, in this one, we're going to be going over everything you need to know about crafting and loot filters in Last Epoch. The reason I've bundled these two guides together is because of how closely tied they are with each other. You can literally start crafting impactful items from level 1 all the way up to an in-game character. It's absolutely crazy. Crafting is super strong in this game because of how deterministic it is, and the fact that it's not gated behind any mechanic that shows up later in the game. Literally on a fresh level 1 character, you can hit F, open up your forge, and see all the runes and shards you have available to craft items. Granted, if you're on a fresh account, you won't have all those items immediately, but you'll get them pretty soon and you can start crafting very quickly. And because the system is fully deterministic which mods you want to put on your items, you can literally take a white level 1 item and put the exact 4 mods on that item you know are going to be impactful to your character. Now you'll have 4 tier 1 mods on that item. It won't be too powerful, but as you progress through the game and get more items and crafting materials, you could upgrade that item or any item that you find on the way up to 4 tier 5 rolls, which is the max crafting tier possible. Of course, there are a few extra things that you should probably know about crafting, and of course a few things about how to easily set up a loot filter for your specific build that will help you focus on obtaining crafting materials for that build to then craft with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the basics of the crafting system itself. When you're in game, hit the F key on your keyboard, and that's going to bring up the forge where you can see your shards. These shards are used to apply specific affixes to your items. There's 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes on any given item. You can use the filter to type in, say, minion, to see all the shards related to minions or whatever affix is best for your build. There's also a crafting material called runes. You can take a look at these by opening your inventory and then clicking on the Crafting Items tab. This will show you all the runes and glyphs you've gathered so far. Runes of Shattering are super important. Using this rune on an item will destroy that item and then create a random number of shards based on the affixes that that item had. So for example, let's say I'm playing a minion build and I know that I want to be crafting a lot of items with minion damage. Any item that I find that has minion damage already on it, I'm going to want to use a rune of fracturing on it to slurp up that minion damage shard. Of course, just make sure that it's not going to be an item that you actually want to use in your build. Now, the Rune of Refinement is basically the Divine Orb in Path of Exile. It re-rolls the affixes on the item within their tier. Rune of Removal is like an Annul Orb in Path of Exile, and it's going to remove a single random affix from an item. A Rune of Cleansing is like a Scouring Orb in PoE and removes all affixes from the item. And lastly, the Rune of Shaping is going to be like a Blessing Orb in Path of Exile. It rerolls the implicit affixes within their tiers. So for example, on my ring here, this 9% minion health could go up to 35% with a Rune of Shaping. After runes, we have glyphs, our first of which is a glyph of the Guardian. These are extremely important and used when crafting high tier items to help increase the chance for success and less chance for fractures and damaging fractures. And don't worry, we'll go over fractures and damaging fractures here shortly. As you can see here, trying to get Vitality tier 5, which is a max roll, will only have a 69% chance for success, but with a glyph of the Guardian, we're up to 94% chance for success. Now you'll also notice here under the item it says 11 instability. Basically, the higher the instability level here, the chances of it fracturing are greater. And if an item fractures, you're not able to craft on it anymore. You don't lose that item, but like I said, you can't continue crafting on it. If you do happen to get a damaging fracture, basically what that means is the item has the chance to lose some tiers of the affixes, and then you can't craft on it as well. That's why it's important to use glyphs of stability when starting your crafts to keep the instability as low as possible before getting into crafting those high tier affixes. Here shortly, I'm going to do a few examples of crafts so you guys can see the process of crafting both beginner and in-game items. Before we get there, I just wanted to briefly mention that I absolutely love this system. It's so impactful. Even from level 1, you can craft items that actually make your build stronger. Having the ability to deterministically craft these items, but at the same time having a fair risk versus reward system with the fractures and damaging crafts, I don't know, personally, I just think it's probably the best crafting system in any ARPG to date, but that's just me. Anyways, let's do a few quick examples on crafting so you guys can see what it looks like in action. Alright, so we're going to craft a couple of different items here that I've prepared over here. One being an item like this that you're going to find on the ground that's going to have maybe 1 or 2 affixes that already have high level rolls. That's going to help you get more max tier crafts basically out of the same item because it has less instability. So here's an example right here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to go over here. And we have a tier 5 intelligence roll already. I do know that I want health hybrid, which is a little bit rarer of a roll. So we're going to do that. As you guys can see here, it's a 96% chance for success, and it's going to add 5 instability. So we're actually going to go ahead and put on a glyph of stability to make that go from 2 to 5. So we have a chance to actually not add too much instability on it. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. And we're down to 86%. Basically, the way I do things is I will go ahead and slam it again if it's above 85%. If it gets below that, and if it's an item that I definitely know that I want to use, I will go ahead and switch over to the Glyph of the Guardian. But we're at 86% here, so I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. And I did, I got it. So for the tier 2 hybrid health. So let's just look at that, by the way. So health has health plus increased percent health. So pretty good. So now I'm below that 85% chance. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a Glyph of the Guardian if I wanted to do the hybrid health again. But I'm already at a tier 2, so I want to go ahead and switch to a different affix here. I know that I need poison on this. So let's go ahead and go over here and let's add poison resistance. And we're going to go back and we're going to add the Glyph of Stability once more. We're at 88%, so we're going to go ahead and forge this. Okay, so we got it. Now we're down to 79%, so we're going to do something different here. So we're back to intelligence. We actually want minion health, because I am a minion build, so we're going to do minion health, and we're actually at the 84% chance here now. So I am going to go ahead and do Glyph of the Guardian. It goes up to 100%, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So I know that I at least got a tier 1 health roll on this. I'm going to get everything tier 2 at least, and I'm going to continue using Glyph of the Guardians. At this point, once you're just doing Glyph of the Guardians, you've done everything that you can do to get your instability as low as possible, and you're really just kind of praying to RNGesus at this point. You've done everything that you can to get as high as you can. Now, I have everything almost at tier 2. Let's do poison resistance one more. 94%. Not too bad. There we go. So we at least have tier 2 on everything. Now at this point, I do want to go ahead and make the second most important mod on this item all the way up to either tier 4 or tier 5. I know that poison resist isn't that huge for me right now. Same thing with minion health, but hybrid health is very important. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time. And then now you can see down here that it has 1% damaging fracture, which I mentioned earlier. There's a chance to damage the item and make your tier go down 1 or 2. So we're going to go ahead and hit it again. 74% chance. That's not too bad. We got it. Very nice. So we do have a tier 4 hybrid, so that's not bad. 42 health and 4% increased. I do kind of want extra poison resist here, so let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, it's up to 74%. We're going to hit it. Very nice. So I'm going to do one more hybrid health. And 59% with a 16% damaging. Let's see if we hit it. There you go. So that is a fractured item. So that's good to show you guys. So basically what happens is I can no longer craft on this item. It fractured and it's basically done. I'm okay with that. I got a tier 5, a tier 4, and a tier 3 here, and I actually lost minion health. So it's down to a tier 1 instead of a tier 2. Not too bad though, not too bad. That's much better than my other boots here that I had. And there you go. I did exactly what I wanted. I got every single piece of affix that I wanted on this gear, and I made that pretty easy. And I just basically found that off of an 8 intelligence pair of boots and was done, right? That's done. Now let's do a more of an in-game item. So I'm not going to show you guys this one. This one's actually probably pretty easy to craft. It's already got everything on it. Basically all I would do with this one, I guess you can guys see me success or fail this one. We're just going to go straight into Glyph of the Guardian on this, and we're going to do minion damage, and we're going to go pretty heavy on this. 2, 3, 4, Okay, so now it requires level 69 to forge, so I can't even do that. So let's see if we can do any of these other ones. That's a good little point as well. So some of these crafts, once you have enough affixes, so like this example, this one's a tier 6, tier 4, 4, 4, it's going to require you to be X amount of levels. So 69 to forge. And on this character, I think I'm only like a 67 or something like that. So that's how I crafted this one, and it just dropped with this tier 6, tier 4, tier 4. That's why it's always good to keep an eye out for ones that already have high affixes on them. So that's a pretty solid amulet right there. It kind of sucks that I don't have minion. It doesn't have minion damage, minion critical strike chance as the base. It's only lightning resist, but not a big deal. So that's a good little example right there. Now this is the last example I wanted to show you guys. This dropped, and it's a pretty insane chess piece. My minions do fire damage, so that's pretty insane. It's a tier 6 roll right there, and it's already got some resistance on it as well. Now, one thing that is very important to note here is I need on my chess piece this rare affix +2 to summon Wraith. Now that is pretty rare, so as you're here, let's actually just type that in. Summon Wraith. I don't even have one over here, so I have not even collected enough to put that onto this chess piece. So I actually can't even craft this chess piece right now. That's kind of what I wanted to show you guys. That's why it's super important to have a loot filter, which we'll talk about in a second, to if anything that drops that has this. So for example, this one, this has +1 to summon Wraith. So if this dropped on the ground for me, it shows up as red. I know to pick it up, and it has that important mod on there, +1 to summon Wraith. And I actually need to take this, and I need to use a shattering on it, or fracturing, rune of shattering, sorry, and we're going to hope that we get some level of summon Wraith's shards out of there. We got 2 of them, very nice. So now we could come over here and do Wraith, summon Wraith. So now we have 2, very nice. Now, good thing to note though is that tier 1 through 4 are +1 to abilities. Now once you get to tier 5, that is a +2. So as you can see on this item, it's a tier 5 max craftable. That's a +2 to summon Wraith. Anything between 1 and 4 is a +1, and a tier 6 is a +3, and a tier 7 is a +4. So good to note as well. But that's why it's just so important for you guys to have loot filters, so you can drop these items, so you can actually craft these really powerful items. Like this one, Summon Wraith, +2 level of Summon Wraith. I couldn't even craft this if I wanted to until I had these shards. So pretty important. So that is my example, super short kind of examples of how to craft. There's obviously a lot more things that you can do, but that is definitely the basics of how to craft these items. Okay, perfect. So that's really the basics of the crafting system. And as you saw there at the end with that item that had +2 level of skills, there's some rare affixes out there that you absolutely need to make sure to pick up and shatter to get those shards to later craft with. With that being said, it's incredibly important to have a solid loot filter to help you identify those items. Good thing Last Epoch has a super easy to use built-in loot filter builder. It's insane. Seriously, some of the quality of life bonuses this game has is just next level. We have both Path of Exile and Diablo 3 really lacking on some of these awesome quality of life features that Last Epoch have, and I have to say I am very impressed. So let's do this. Let's take a look at how to make both basic loot filters and also some filters that are specific to your own character, so you can target farm certain affixes to break down for shards. First, open up your loot filter by just hitting Shift F on the keyboard. Simply hit the green plus icon up here, and then we're going to either create a new filter or import a filter, or even directly paste a filter from a clipboard into the game. For our example, let's create a new filter, and then we're going to call it Leveling Loot Filter. You can give it an icon and color of your choice, then we're going to hit confirm. Now, I don't want to go super in depth here, but I still do want to show you guys the basics. So to create a rule, you just want to hit add rule here. Now, there's 3 different visibilities. Show, which means that all items in this rule will show up. There's also hide, which means all items in this rule will not show up. And lastly, there's recolor, which means that all items in this rule will have a different color icon when it drops. There's also emphasize, and when you checkmark this, it capitalizes the letters on the icons when it drops to make it stand out just a little bit more. Lastly, there's character level dependency. So if you're leveling a character and are between levels, say 0 and 55, you could have different things show or hide based on that level. So for a basic condition here, let's make one for uniques and set items to always show. Let's first check mark emphasize, and then we're going to add condition and rarity, and then under rarity, let's check exalted, unique, and set. Exalted items are the purple items that come with drop-only tier affixes of tier 6 and 7, which are kind of the chase crafting items in the game. Anyways, we have that, so let's hit add and then apply it to that filter. Now, we're going to add another rule here, and this time we want to hide all normal items. So those gray items with no affixes on them, we definitely don't want to see all those because there's tons on the ground. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. So we hit visibility and then hide and then add condition, and we're going to hit rarity. And then for rarity, we're going to select normal. Same thing, hit add. Now, once again, let's hit add rule. And this time we're going to go over a slightly more complicated rule to help us easily identify good leveling items with good affixes. Now, the same rule and idea can be applied to in-game filters as well if you're hunting for specific affixes. First, just hit add rule, then recolor. Let's choose from something like pink. It's whatever you want, just hit confirm after that. Now let's add a condition and let's click affix. Now this is where it gets seriously awesome. Go over here to affixes and then you can literally see every affix in the game. You can even go up to the search bar here and filter for, say, health, and there's all the health affixes in the game. Now to drill down a bit, just click on one and it's going to drop down the exact affixes in that category. We could either check mark the whole category or each individual affix that we want. Health rolls on gear is very solid for leveling up as well as dodge, by the way. So let's check mark this and hit confirm. Now let's take it further and click tier, then more or equal to, and then we're going to put 3 here. That means only items with health roll that has a tier 3 affix or higher will show up as a pink icon. That way you know if there's a pink icon dropping in the ground, it's probably worth giving it a look because it has a pretty good health roll on it. So it could be something you could use, or maybe just pick it up and then shatter it for shards. Now, even though that example was pretty simple, you could take that same exact concept and go further and choose any specific affix you want to target farm for shards and make it a certain color so you know to pick that item up. It's really, really important for crafting because you always want to make sure you have enough shards for your crafts. And when doing those in-game item crafts, you'll likely be using more rare affixes like the ones with plus to level of skills or just skill affecting affixes in general. It's also incredibly important for crafting because finding items with higher tier affixes already on them makes it much easier to reach multiple max tier affixes on a single item, because you start out with much lower instability than if you had to start on a fresh item from tier 1 and then go all the way up to tier 5 on everything. So yeah, that's the basics for both crafting and item filter building, but there's lots of more in-game type tricks to go over that I would love to show you guys, but it would make this video way too long. So what I would suggest is just follow my Twitch, come ask me some questions in there, or of course ask away in the comment section on this video, and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. Also, do expect several more guides on Last Epoch just like this in the very near future. For example, my next one is going to be over everything that you need to know about the in-game in Last Epoch. If you made it all this way to the end of the video, I hope it did help you out in some way. I appreciate you sticking around, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.